should. Brilliant. Right. Are you ready for this then, Adam?
I am ready.
Okay. Right. Thank you for attending this evening's webinar about online safety and 360 Safe, this 360 Safe tool. My name is Jo Stone and I'm the EdTech demonstrator and lead professional for EdTech for Discovery Schools Trust. But today I am joined, and I'm really pleased, I'm joined by Adam Lapidge, who is the online safety lead for Discovery Schools Trust. Adam is also the Assistant Director of IT as well, so please feel free to ask Adam any questions in the chat bar throughout this session. If you would like to actually ask any questions, please use the hands up button and I'll turn on your mic and camera if you want to. This evening, Adam's going to be talking about how schools or organisations can set up the 360 Safe tool. He's going to model how to use the tool and update and how you can update your own information on the tool, and also show you how to use the tool to develop your online safety strategy as well. So before I begin, Adam, I just thought I would ask you one question, if that's okay, just to get you a bit warmed up. So I just wondered if you could just explain how you support IT leads when you visit schools or organisations and what a typical visit kind of looks like.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I present. So my role as online safety sort of lead for the trust is to support not just the IT lead, but DSLs within our schools. So when I come in, a normal sort of visit would be we would sort of sit down as a group. We would open the 360 tool, which I'll show you later on. We would look at sort of the areas that we might be focusing on that day. We'd go through them. We'd see how can I support them with that. So if it's about staff training, it might be about looking at what the audit needs, what are the sort of online safety needs of those staff to be able to deliver what they need to do. And it's kind of like a nice sort of very relaxed discussion about online safety where we're all collaborating together to just try and move the school forward, really. And that's kind of that's how the visits work, Joe. It's very much I come in and they tell me what they need from me, and I sort of look and say, okay, well, you need that in that section as well. So it's kind of a two-way thing between me and the schools I visit.
So like you said, very collaborative, and it's basically what I'm saying, it's not a done-to process, is it? It's very much a joint process. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think, I can have an overview of certain things, but they know their schools better than I do. They know what their families are like, what their staff need. So it is, as you say, it's a two-way thing. We both meet in the middle and kind of help each other out.
Brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll just pass over to you now, if that's okay. If you're happy to start presenting. And
absolutely.
Look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
So hopefully the PowerPoint is now showing for everyone else. You can see it on the head, and I'll put myself on the screen. So yes, hello and welcome to this webinar on how to use Southwest Grid for Learning's 360 self-review tool to support your online safety strategy. So today we're just going to have a look. I'll tell you a bit about my background and how I've got to this point. We'll look at what is 360 Safe and how do you sign up and where to go for that. We'll look at what are sort of the features of 360 Safe and how it can help support you, and look at the different sort of functions within it and how you sort of input your information on there and how that can then be used to help your online safety strategy. We'll then look at the benefits that we found using 360 Safe. Now, it is a journey, and I think everyone's journey is going to be slightly different. So we thought we would just kind of share how we've used it, what we found to be beneficial, and then kind of look at what are some of the initiatives that we've already done, and I think the 6 that we've done so far, and how that's kind of gone for us, and then sort of ending comments and where we go next with it. So first thing, so as I sort of tell you a little bit about me. So as Joe mentioned earlier, yep, my name is Adam Lapidge. I am the online safety lead for Discovery Trust and also the assistant director of IT. So I've been working in education for the last 10 years or so now. I started out as an LSA/TA back when I was 19. I then went to uni for 3 years and did education. Decided that I wanted to work in IT, so became an IT technician for Discovery Trust. And then that has then kind of led on to this role eventually, the online safety lead. And why I think that's relevant is I have seen kind of the full spectrum of responsibilities within schools. So I'm now sort of at a leadership level. I've been a support staff member. I've been a part of the technical team. And online safety really does pull together all three of those roles. So I do think it's kind of important to mention as to how I've got here. Now, I might be on the screen, but as you can probably see just behind me, I am also a qualified 360 Safe assessor for Southwest Grid for Learning. So that's probably the real reason why I'm here today, to see how I can see how it can support you in your schools. So as part of that role, it's my job to go out and to audit other schools. Now, obviously, during the COVID pandemic, we haven't had many of those yet. But we are hoping that maybe next year we will get a bit more out into other schools nationally. So let's move on and have a look at the self-review tool and see how it works. So I am going to start at the very, very beginning. And apologies if you already know how 360 Safe self-review tool works and you've already logged in and you've got all that set up. I'm going to kind of look at this as if you've never seen it before. So again, apologies if you have. So it is a free self-review tool from Southwest Grid for Learning that all schools can sign up to. As long as you're an educational institute, you can sign up to it. So to register for 360 Safe, you just need to go to their website, which is www.360safe.org.uk. And on the screen now, you can see what their website looks like. And in the top right, you will see a register button. And from there, you sort of get this page, and then you enter in your school's details. Just to be clear, your email address and password on here will be what you use to log in, and it must be an educational email address or a work email address. They will not accept any Gmail or Hotmail emails. You put your organisation name in and postcode, and then you send that off to Southwest Grid for Learning. They will be in touch over the next few days just to confirm that your account has been activated, and then you are now able to log in and start your online safety journey. So then sort of looking at it, what is 360 Safe? So I wanted to just sort of pinpoint what it is that it actually does. So what it allows you to do is look at many different online safety aspects across online safety, and sort of look at where you sit within them and highlight some of your strengths, maybe some of your development areas, and what that looks like. So I thought I'd go through some of the key features, which is of what the tool looks like when you log in. So what you'll see is the self-review tool consists of three main categories. The first one is policy and leadership, which focuses on how clear the vision and the strategy for online safety is. So this is sort of the section that your DSL, head teacher, SLT will be part of. It looks at the policy. It looks at who is responsible for online safety throughout your school. It looks at the acceptable use policy and how that's been sort of disseminated throughout the school, and it also looks at your reporting and responding procedures and how good are they at responding to online safety issues. The next one is education. This looks at how effective sort of your training model is for all stakeholders. So yes, there is a big section on the curriculum and what education you provide for them, but it doesn't just stop there. And as we know with online safety, it is everyone's responsibility. So it looks at what have you got in place for your staff? What are their training needs? What do they need to be able to be confident in dealing with online safety issues? It looks at families. So what are you providing for your families? Everyone, I think everyone's very clear that we we need everyone's pulled together when it comes to online safety and safeguarding. So what are you sending out to them? Are you giving them guides, newsletters? What's your website look like? And it covers all those kind of those aspects of that. It also looks at your governors and what's their role and how effective are they being within your school. And then the final one, I think, is agencies and sort of who are you working with? So are you working with the police? Are you interacting with Safer Internet Day? Are you working with other MATs potentially, or other schools you could partner up with? Or is there any specific sort of programs? So cyber choices, cyber for schools is sort of looking at it's where pupils who have got a real interest in sort of not cyber crime, but that avenue of talking about maybe hacking and viruses, and they're the sort of people that help them get on the right path. And the third category is technology. And this, I guess is where my main background is. It's about the technical security of your school in regards to computer systems, the users that access them, data protection. So that kind of breaks down into your filtering, your monitoring solutions, how effective are they, and give you a chance to review them. Are they doing what they need to do to help keep your children and pupils safe? It looks at data protection, which I think has been a major thing over the last, well, since 2008, when the GDPR act came in. So it really is quite extensive, which is what I've tried to put together to try and see that there are a lot of aspects that cover it. So within each of those categories, there will be additional aspects. So in total, there is 21 individual aspects in the 360 portal that you need to kind of look at. And they make up the framework of which you can now see on the screen. So as you can see, they are wide ranging, as I've just said, anything from responsibilities, professional standards, all the way filtering, monitoring, your mobile technology, and what you're going to be as bring your own device comes in more and more. What are you doing about that? Use social media. And the way it works, and I think it's a good time to talk about how the levels work, is it works on a 1 to 5 basis, with level 1 is sort of best practice with online safety, and level 5 being your lower end of the spectrum. And as you can see on this graph, there are different lines, different colors. So first and foremost, we'll look at the green. So the green is you. And where you put your school. Once you've completed some sort of audit or had a look at where you're at, this gives you an overview of where you're at. The blue line is sort of where nationally, so all the schools that have done 360, where are they nationally, what's the average? And the red line, the dotted line is for the online safety mark. So just to talk about the online safety mark a little bit, once you've sort of done your sort of development of your online safety strategy, you've looked at all the areas, the aspects, you think you're really good in all of them, then it might be that you want to look towards the online safety mark. So that is a national recognized award from Southwest Good Learning through 360 Safe. That is, I think it's a really good way of showcasing that your school is very, is showing good practice with online safety. So what will happen is, once you've got to where you need to get to, you would then send off to Southwest Grid for Learning and 360 Safe. Right, I think we're ready to be sort of assessed now. That comes through to us. And by us, I mean, from the assessor point of view, we look at kind of your evidence and how you built that up, and then we would come in and do a day's assessment and to see if you meet the criteria for the online safety mark. As you can see from the red dotted line, that mark is level 2 across the board. So every aspect must be a level 2 or above, so level 2 or level 1, to obtain the award. So just to clarify here, that side of things is not free. So just to to be honest, there is a cost to that. That is for the assessor to come out and assess you and to get the award. Once you've achieved the award, you will receive the rights to put that on your website. I think you get like a little badge and whatnot that showcases that you are a 360 Safe school. So I hope that's quite clear on how the overview of that works. So I thought I'd go into a little bit now, a bit more detail about the aspects in terms of how do you put your information on? How can we how does this help you develop your strategy? So as I mentioned, they are levels 1 to 5, and you'll see on here on the screen now, you can see level 2 and level 1. So first things first, in each of the aspects, it's broken down into 5 levels that have a clear and precise criteria that needs to be met before you can achieve that level. And as I say, so these are very clearly laid out, and as you read through them, you can then judge where your school is, or where you think your school is, based on that criteria. And what it then allows you to do is, for example, on this one, we obviously believed we were level 2, and it gives you a clear idea of how you can achieve the next level, and also what it is within level 1. So I think that's quite nice to be able to, to see what experts in the field think you need to do to get to the next level. And then I thought I'd just show you how you enter your sort of position. So if I go back to here, and you'll see on the screen where it says how to achieve the next level, and enter current position, and enter evidence, and enter improvement actions. And each one of those you can click into. So for example, on this one, it's the online safety education program. So it's looking at your curriculum for your pupils. You enter in your position. You then enter into the evidence of what that might look like. So whether it's lesson plans, whether it's progression of skills, tracker documents, you might have photos of evidence of lessons. We do ours in a OneNote, so all our evidence is within OneNote. And then that allows you to kind of build that picture of evidence of where you're at, ready for when, if you want to, assess your, get the assessment, get the online safety mark. And then the final one is enter your improvement actions. And what that means is then you've got where you're at, where's your evidence for saying that you're at that, and what do you need to do to get to the next level. And it's all in one place, which we have found to be really beneficial, and help us kind of see it in a very loose way of right before where we are now and where we need to get to. And that's kind of makes up how the 360 portal works. There are some other action points. Jo, do you want to say?
Yes, I do. Sorry, Adam, I was just going to ask you there. You mentioned the evidence, and you mentioned some types of evidence there, but how much do people need? It's nice to know that the types of evidence, but what should people be using as an amount, a guide? What would you expect to be seeing?
That's a good question, Jo. So the way that the 360 assessors and how they assess the evidence is they're not after massive amounts of evidence. If you're talking about sort of quantity, it's just sort of key bits from each kind of aspect. So what we as assessors, what we tend to look at is there a good common theme going through them in terms of have you got the gist of what you're trying to get? We're not like, if I go into a school, I'm not expecting to see, primary school, all right, I want lesson plans from 7 year groups all at the same time. That's not what I'm expecting. I might want to see, a few, just, some examples of it. I don't need to see massive amounts. So I hope that kind of answers your question a little bit, Jo.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So moving on in terms of the benefits of using it, and I just wanted to sort of talk about some of the benefits we found from using the self-review tool in our trust. So what I really like about it is it allows us to see a complete overview of all the aspects that make up the online safety strategy. Now, I couldn't show this properly on the page, so what I've done is just took a snippet of what it looks like. And if I try and move out the way a little bit, so the online safety this is just one aspect, and it lists them all in a row. And as I said earlier about current position, evidence, and improvement action, you can see it's all on one page. So as a leader, and I have to, sort of go to my leader and sort of say, where are we at with things? It's really nice for him to not have to look at, go into each aspect and look at them. It's all on one page. And we know that there's heavy demands in education. We're all aware of that. So to have it all in one page on one page, with a clear idea of where your school needs to go, what level it's currently at, is really, really clear. And that kind of leads me on to the next one about the wide-ranging aspects. So as I said earlier, 360, you know, with it being 21 aspects, it really does cover all the parts of sort of the online safety paradigm that's considered, you know. And there's, I think when we started, there was a lot of aspects that we didn't probably consider that we'd previously thought about. So, you know, to look at online publishing and what we're doing on our website, you know, we hadn't thought about, you know, and all the different aspects that build it up. We just found it to be really helpful in kind of helping us, you know, meet the full range of online safety, rather than just looking at curriculum and staff training. It really does break it down a lot more than that. And it kind of, the next one is it, and leads on to the previous one a little bit, is about collaboration. I think me and Joe talked about it earlier, about that collaborative approach. It really does bring everyone together because, you know, no one's an expert in all three of those areas. Yes, policy and leadership and education are often, you know, very close together. But in terms of then the technical side of things, and that's one of the things our schools have really sort of benefited from, is we have our own tech team, is it brings all those stakeholders together. So it brings the SLT or DSL, and then the curriculum lead, the technical lead, the governor, all together, so that you've got this, you know, whole school approach. And one of the key things that was in sort of the Keeping Children in Safe Education document this year was that need for a whole school approach to online safety. And I think the 360 tool really takes this into account and forces you to, you know, to be very collaborative with all stakeholders that are, you know, and the community as well of your school. So there is a real emphasis on teamwork, and there's also a real emphasis on pupil voice. And pupil voice is something that certainly in primary is quite difficult in some ways. They've not got the level of experience of maybe your secondary schools, but it is really clear that if we want pupils to take ownership of being safe online, then we need to encourage them to speak about the issues they're facing. And I think the 360 sort of safe, you know, in terms of when you get going and looking at sort of online safety groups, and I'm going to touch on that in a couple of slides time, and it allows them a forum to speak about issues, and we've brought in some initiatives that again, you know, in a couple of slides time, I'm going to talk about what we've done to try and help that and bring that pupil voice forward and make it more than just, you know, a box ticker, but an actual means for change. So I just wanted to talk about how we started using 360 Safe. So we started our journey probably only just over you know, a year ago, and we found it a really useful tool in changing our mindset with online safety. I think maybe we're a little bit blinded by the fact that, you know, we all thought we were doing a really, really strong job with online safety, and it's not until you start using the tool where you go, oh, maybe we hadn't thought of that. Maybe we're not pushing that quite enough as we need to. So I think it's, you know, in speaking honestly, I think we've looked at it and actually thought, actually, this online safety is far, far bigger than we ever thought it was. And I'm so glad that we've now started to use it, because I really do think it's made a massive difference to our perspective of what good online safety practice is and how in depth that it now must be to be effective and keeping children safe. It has to be that kind of real deep dive into it and exploring all the issues of online safety. So the first thing, you know, I'm speaking from a MAP point of view, but you could, you know, individual school as well, is we kind of did an audit of our school. So when, you know, Joe spoke earlier about how do we support our schools, before, you know, that we decided that we'd go in and do an actual full day audit. Now, it's a very relaxed audit, but we thought this would be the best way to get a real accurate picture of where our schools are at. So over the 3-month period, we audited all our schools, and that allowed us to, as I say, see that picture of where the trust is at, if there's trust trends, and where individual schools are at, if there's bits that they needed to kind of work on. So the data that we gained from that, we then created this tracker that I've put on there. So as you can see, you know, you've got, you know, it's a 1 to 5 tracker. And that allows us to kind of get an average rating for our trust in certain areas. So for us, I could then work at from a trust work point of view and go, right, the online safety group, really weak across the trust. That's a focus for next year, and it really helped me sort of develop this academic year strategy, because I know I can base that strategy on the areas of development that has been, evidence in these audits. We've got evidence to base on the fact that we need to put a strategy in place for that. And that has allowed us to become, incredibly more focused around what our development areas are. As I say, like I've just said, because we've got the evidence of where we're at and what we need to go to improve in that area. And then we've got the statements within 360, the self-review tool that actually tell you where you need to go. And that allows us to make sure our strategy is following that framework. As I mentioned earlier with Joe, we then go in and we do look at that action plan with our DSLs, IT lead technicians, and we start making those improvements. Improvements never stop, as we all know. They carry on. So once we've sort of done the first level, we then go again, and we're not going to audit again, but what we will do is look at where, okay, we might have got to a level 2 in something. What's that next step? How can we strive for excellence in online safety? So we're using the 360 tool as a way of having a continuous action plan that's constantly evolving. And what I like about it is because it's on a portal in one place. If your IT lead changes, if your DSL leaves, the next one can pick it up and see where you're at and where you've come from. There are reports on there that look at timelines, so you can see how your school has improved over time, which is really nice when showing governors and being made accountable for online safety. You can say, look, we've made a real improvement. This proves it. This is it's a nationally recognised system. And as obviously the world's evolving and changing, so does the 360 portal. So they're updating it as they go along, and there's new things all the time that are coming out, and that we need to adapt with it. And sort of to add on to that is, like we said earlier, you can go into each of these action plans. This is another one. So this looks at, whereas the one I showed earlier was just like a one-line sort of page, this is kind of a bit more in depth of where you're at, the current position, the recommendations to improvement that comes from sort of from them, and then the improvement plan that goes with it. So there's a lot of features and tools, and I think if you signed in and you could have a look at what they can do. So what have we achieved so far? So I think it's really probably nice for me to be able to talk about this, and for you to see the evidence of how have we done it and what have we achieved with it. And the first one is the online safety group. So if you do go onto 360, it will explain it probably in better detail than I'm going to, but the online safety group is about getting all the stakeholders together to develop the online safety strategy, to talk about issues. So on our online safety groups consist of a parent, a governor, multiple staff members. So normally, we say DSL, IT lead, technician, me from a trust level, I'm in each of the online safety groups, and then the pupils themselves. Some people have used, different children. Some people have used their school council. Be as creative as you want with that. Have as many people as you want. So as I said earlier about pupil voice, this is the group that allows them to have a place to engage with staff about online safety issues, any initiatives they think would be really good at bringing forward, any trends that they've seen. 9 times out of 10, pupils are going to know about the new trend before we know, and we only know about it when they start reporting it. So having a group like this that meets regularly, and they normally meet, anywhere from, some people want to meet every 2 weeks, other people it's monthly, and they can bring sort of some of the issues forward. So thinking about sort of Squid Game and those sort of things, these are the sort of places that our pupils would talk to staff and governors and parents, and how they can help with that and what they need to do next. So as I said earlier, the pupil voice is not just about box ticking. It is really about getting their opinions and feedback, and their feedback, and how that can then help move the school forward. The other thing we've done, and it leads on to what we've just said about pupil voice being powerful, is we've now created a pupil-led acceptable use policy. And I don't know how other schools have done it, but I think traditionally acceptable use policies have been very much unofficial rules, but they're not normally followed up. They're not normally in the classroom. Sometimes parents sign them as they come in foundation, EYFS. So what we decided to do was, to get our message across, we decided to create an acceptable use policy. Now, ours is not called an acceptable use policy anymore. Our children decided to call it online ownership. They met as a pupil parliament. So we have pupil parliament where all the schools come together. They discussed it as the 13 schools, with myself and one of the head teachers as that representative. And then the university agreed on all the on that acceptable use policy, which is now going into all their classrooms, which they will all sign, almost like a charter. And what we found with this is it's really, it's really quite a powerful statement. And when people come in, to know that our pupils are the one leading that change. They are leading, what they think they need in the classroom to help them and help other children. Parental workshops, and I know all schools find this really difficult about engaging parents. That is difficult, and we found it just as difficult as any other school. But research does suggest that the parents play a pivotal role in keeping children safe online. Yes, they spend a lot of time at school, but a lot of what we found the issues are is when they go home in the evening, pupils on devices by themselves, So what we've introduced is sort of parental workshops that are led by pastoral teams, led by the people that have good relationships with families in schools. Some of the parental workshops we've done so far, we've had drop-in sessions for parental guides and parental support. So things like making sure that if you are going to give them a tablet at home, and that's it's every parent's right to do what they want, how can we put parental controls on to keep that safe? And we found that that's been successful, not as successfully as we would like, as there's always more parents we'd like to hit, but unfortunately you can only get to as many parents as you can. And then the next one we've sort of achieved, well, what I'd say we've achieved is staff training. It's another area that's very, very key to sort of that whole school approach, and also very key to ensure that pupils stay safe, is ensuring that our staff are confident in dealing with online safety issues. And we know that online safety, it always comes up in inset days, but traditionally it's never really been focused on enough. So what we've introduced this year is some webinars, and I produce a newsletter every month for staff, looking at the trends and that's moving forward. As I say, we've got webinars, we've got we've took time out for key members of staff. So your DSLs now, we've created a DSL network where all the DSLs will join me for an online safety, and it's specifically for online safety, where we look at what's going on in schools, what trends are happening to them, what current issues, and it's a good place where we've collaborated and learned from each other. And I will deliver training when it comes up and when it's needed. And the DSLs really feel that has helped them support them on their online safety journey. The next two are slightly smaller ones, but the technical security strategy. I think the increase in cyber attacks, specifically to educational institutes, has really ramped up over the last couple of years, and it's probably never been more important to make sure that you have a clear technical security strategy. So one of the things we have done is sort of worked with with myself and my director of IT on really sort of protecting schools from cyber crime and from cyber attacks. So we are currently trying to get the cyber essentials, and that is something that if you want to read upon it, I think you can just go to the Cyber Essentials website, and that'll tell you what you need to do to achieve that. And it's very in depth, and there's a lot of stuff on there. And then finally, and I'll move my head slightly, is the GDPR focus. So it has been around since 2018 with the GDPR introduction, but it was something that we felt we really needed to improve on, and how we use personal data and how we use how personal data and technology are very much intertwined. So if you look at the increase in applications, platform, software that has been sort of bombarding educational institutes since the lockdown, and the need to be more remote, so we have had to have more cloud systems. what we needed to take into account is actually there's a lot of data being sort of transferred through those apps, and what we've then set up is what's called a platform working group. So myself and Joe, who's with us tonight, and a couple of head teachers have come together and looked at the apps and platforms we've used, gone away. Are they safe? You know, what are their privacy notice? How do they use our data? Who's the controller, and what's the purpose of that data? And what it's allowed us to do is basically set up a guideline of apps and platforms that we know is safe, and that we then send out to teachers, and they know that it's safe, secure, and gives them a framework to work within, where they've not got hundreds of different apps and platforms being sort of thrown at them. These are the ones that we want them to focus on. And sort of we're coming to the end sort of now, and I just sort of wanted to say about what our next steps are as a trust. And they are very, you know, I could go into it very nitty-gritty individual initiatives, but some of the very broad steps is very clear, is to continue to develop our online safety practice and strategy. We are still, you know, learning every day, and how we can improve. You know, we're not perfect, and we continue to develop that strategy through the self-review tool as that updates as well, sort of react to that. And by doing that, we are hoping that all of our schools, and currently this isn't the case, but hopefully by September 22, so next September, we will sort of have the Online Safety Mark Award at all of our schools, and we can really, you know, be proud of the sort of the good practice of online safety that we have within our schools. So that's kind of everything that I've, you know, kind of got to talk about today. If you do want to sort of get started with the 360 Safe, their website's there below, 360safe.org.uk. If it's something that you think you would want support with, then as an EdTech demonstrator trust or school, we can help you through go through that process. And the EdTech demo URL is there, the web link, if you want to do it that way. If you just want to get in touch and ask me some questions and go through it on that route, it is something that I'm happy to answer, you know, answer any questions about. As I say, my email is there. We are funded, you know, it's free through the DFE to help other schools with this. So by all means, get in touch, and yeah, hopefully someone gets in touch, and look forward to working with you. And I believe that is it, Joe.
Thank you, Adam. That's brilliant. Can you just maybe leave your slides on a moment? I've just got a couple of questions, if that's all right, of my own. I just wondered, when you talk about, I was looking at it, and it says, it mentions about the tool being updated. How often would you expect schools to be updating the tool over the year when they're using it?
Okay, so it's different for every school, but I think realistically, you know, you want to be looking at this at the very minimum termly, but I would suspect half termly is how we kind of look at it. Certainly, it also depends on how, I'm not going to say how good your school is, but where you think you're at in that journey. I think some of our schools are a bit further behind, so I've been supporting them half termly. Every 6 weeks I'll go in. The ones that are a bit more advanced, that's now cut down to sort of 3 times throughout the year. So I think you've got to make a best judgment on your school and what works for you, but it's certainly something that you don't want to leave over time. You want to be continuously updating it. As I think it allows you to keep it fresh in the mind. You're not spending, you know, you're looking at it 1 year and then not looking at it for 6 months. So yeah, I'd say anywhere between half termly and termly is probably where I'd go with, Joe.
No, that's great, thank you. And then I was just thinking about the grid that you showed earlier. The Excel, I think it was an Excel spreadsheet that you had up with the yellow and the red colorings. That's it on, yeah, that one there. Yeah, is that something that you created for the trust, or is that something that comes alongside the 360 Safe?
That is something I created for the trust. So I took all the statements, as you can see on the left, and the category they're in. So firstly, the category of policy and leadership, and the subcategories of what they fall under. And that is something that I created just to help me. And, you know, when I'm speaking to our trust leader and looking at it, it's very clear of where we need to improve on. But it's certainly something that, you know, if you want to come and work with, you know, if you want some support on that, I can implement in other schools as well. I can share that.
That's great. Thanks, Adam. I just thought it's, like you say, it's a great tool to have, isn't it? It's great to see that overview. We've just got a question from Mary. She just said, how can I join the 360 Safe?
Okay, so the easiest way, if I go back to some of my original slides, yeah, here we go. So literally, if you go to 360safe.org.uk, which is that website that you see on the screen now, top right there is a register button. You register your school, so you just put your name in, email address, make sure it is an educational one, not a Hotmail or Gmail. Put in your organisation name and postcode. That gets fired off to the Southwest Grid for Learning people, the 360 people, who then do a quick check to make sure you are an educational institute, and then they will activate your account, and then you're good to go. If you're a MAT, you can set up a MAT version of it, so you have all of your schools in one portal. So the way I do it is I have when I log in, there is a sort of there's an option for each of the schools, and then you can then individually add people in. So, you know, DSL at X school can only see X school, rather than the whole spectrum of schools. But if you want, you know, leaders, so myself and Joe and trust leader, they can see all. So I hope that answers your question. But any further questions, by all means, you know, if you want to get in contact with me, I'm happy to walk you through that process.
That's great. Thanks, Adam. I hope that answers the question, Mary. The other question that I had, Adam, was what is the cost of the award? So when people have gone through this audit process for the year, say, and they've filled in all of the different aspects and they think they're ready, what would the cost be to go through to try and get the award?
Okay, I knew you were going to ask that. I don't know the specific details off the top of my head, I must admit. It depends on what type of school you are, whether you're maintained or, you know, not a maintained school. It depends on the size. So the bigger your school, the more it costs. If we base it on an average sort of standard school, whether you're academy or LA maintained, somewhere, you know, above, I think, 400 pupils, I think it's about 850.
Okay.
Roughly. That also needs to be redone every 3 years. Just be clear on that. That to keep the award, you do need to renew it. They're not as expensive. They are normally done. You can do, for the first one anyway, you can do like a desktop sort of renewal where they will do it virtually, and obviously that cost is not as high.
That's great. Thanks, Adam. And then finally, I was just thinking about the different aspects, because I think you said there's 21 aspects in the audit itself. What aspects do schools sometimes find tricky to actually achieve?
Okay, yes, this is a good question, and something that comes up nationally. So when I go and join an assessors group, and we look at the data across all national schools, the ones that really come up a lot is the online safety group. We don't do enough with that group of people. Contribution of young people, again, not doing enough pupil voice. Mobile technology is going up. As we are becoming more mobile with our technology, you know, certainly over the last 10 years with tablets, and how are we making sure they're safe, and bring your own device and how that's being implemented more. They're sort of I would say some of the more maybe weaker points nationally, along with GDPR, data security.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. As you say, there's got quite a few aspects there to actually achieve, but over a period of time, it's obviously, you know, it is doable, isn't it? But it's just,
it always looks bigger than it is. It always looks, and it is extensive, and that's one of the real, you know, pros to this, is it doesn't leave anything, you know, untouched. You know, it really does touch on all the aspects that I think belong in an online safety review. But bit by bit, you get through it, and there's some things you'll go, absolutely, you know, we're doing this fantastically already, and there's going to be some things that you know, so it's unlikely you're going to have to work, you know, on all 21 aspects. You're not going to come in as a level 5 for everything. You know, there might be a couple of things that you go, oh, we're really not doing that well, but I think, you know, it's not as big as it seems.
And finally, I was just thinking, your role, if people would like some support, not necessarily going through this, maybe they've got to the end and they think they're ready, but they're not quite sure, would you be happy to go in and just help them to review it very quickly before they applied for the award?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that is probably when you're ready to sort of apply for that award. If you sort of set me up as a user within your portal, and I can do that virtually, I can look at your evidence. Have you got enough of what an assessor's looking for? But not only that, when you go to apply for the one of the good things about 360 Safe is they won't charge you until they know that you're about ready. So if I give you the example, if you send off your sort of criteria, your evidence, and you basically send off your portal for them to look at, if they don't think you've got enough, they will tell you before they charge you. So one of the nice things is they don't, they're not that they're taking money for, they know if you're there or thereabouts. If they think you're, based on the evidence you've put. Now, if they come and the evidence you put isn't true, that's a different story. Obviously, they're going to turn around and say no. But if the evidence that you've put on there in terms of what you've listed looks like the right amount of quantity and quality of what they're looking for, then you're in with a good chance of getting the award. They will come back to you if they don't think you're quite ready before you pay a lot of money.
That's great. That's very reassuring as well. Thanks, Adam.
I've probably gone a little bit off topic there because I know you talked about how I could support. Yes, I'm completely happy to support people. The only thing is, if I support you, I cannot do the assessment. Just to be clear, that I can't be a consultant and an assessor for the same school for obvious reasons. Absolutely.
No, that's true. No, that's great. And lots of information there. Thank you very much, Adam, for your time this evening. And presenting. It's really good of you. As Adam said, if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with him. And you saw at the end on the slides there that there's also a way to contact the EdTech Demonstrator Programme as well. If you would like to contact Adam through that programme, you can also go on and register through the EdTech programme and just put in Kibworth CV Primary School, and you can then get in touch with either myself or Adam. So thank you for joining us this evening, and enjoy the rest of the evening, and hopefully we might see you again for the future webinars that we're doing in January. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me, Jo. It's been really nice and exciting to do this.
You're welcome. Sometimes it's nice as well to be able to discuss the area of work that you're in. We don't often get time to do that, do we? So
no, we really don't. So it's been lovely. Thank you.